Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with jazz singer Svetlana Shmulyian. We caught up with her in the middle of May 2020 during the COVID-19 quarantine to discuss this new world of ours, and she has new music out. The song is a cover of Lana DelRay's Young and Beautiful from the 2013 movie The Great Gatsby. She released it during the pandemic to lift up the listener's spirits with music. The song expresses hopefulness for the future and the power of love. She talks about this and so much more. Enjoy.
2020 is canceled.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, trying to keep active in some ways that kind of like don't compromise quality, but you know, kind of figuring it out. You know.
How did you realize that things were starting to head south and everything was going to be canceled and silenced around mid-March?
Well, we had our last official show in Florida on March 7, which was a Saturday, and then we traveled back on March 8th to New York. And even that tour in Florida, which folks that come out to those shows tend to be, you know, somewhat of an older crowd. Even in those shows, some of those shows usually completely sell out. We come back year after year. They were, you know, not as fully attended as usual, and I think that's part of it is because the word was getting out that going out is kind of a little bit of a risk. And then we flew back, and we're supposed to have a show in New York, one of our residencies here, kind of like a cute show in this place called Roxy Hotel, kind of hotel meets club type of vibe. And 2 hours before, you know, they basically said, sorry guys, no go, can't come. And then on Monday is our marquee show at the Backroom Speakeasy, also weekly show that just turned 8 years, the residency there. That's when all the venues were ordered to be closed. So that was it. And then the cancellations started rolling in, you know, no surprise. Luckily, many venues are interested in rescheduling. So also lucky those venues who have given us deposits, you know, things like that, are the ones who are interested in rescheduling, because I would have frankly gone bankrupt if I had to return a lot of those deposits. Yeah. So, you know, just trying to stay afloat and emotionally, financially, and trying to build for the future. And like I said, think of ways to present music now with integrity, which is not a trivial task. So there you are.
Yeah, well, and I guess you are doing that. You covered Young and Beautiful by Lana DelRay, and that's been one of the catalysts for me to call me talking about this COVID-19 one thing. So talk to me a little bit about this single and kind of what you're doing creatively to stay busy.
Sure, thank you so much. So it's actually been in the vault, so to speak. That song was pretty elaborately arranged and recorded as part of the sessions to record my Night at the Movies album. It didn't quite fit on the album because it had a little bit more forward sound to it, kind of more, a little too far from jazz, I would say, compared to the rest of the album, which also stretched my kind of presentation and identity, because prior to that album, whatever recordings I made and a lot of my public performances were with my hot jazz and swing group, the Delancey Five. So the Night at the Movies album, I wanted to express different identities, but that song was a little too far in my listening to the album. So I put it aside. You know, it was unfortunate kind of for me to put it aside because, again, so much time went into it. It has a string quartet arrangement to it, and a piano trio and percussion, but I kind of went back into the vault and fished out three songs, two of which are to come out later in the summer, but this one, it felt like when I listened to the lyrics, I thought, oh my God, this is actually expressing some of how I'm feeling right now, and as we're raising through the slumber of this pandemic, will the world still be there? Will it be the same? Will we be loved and embraced by it as people, as artists, as humans? So I just kind of decided to let it fly out in the world, and I sent it out to a few friends who were kind from the press, who have been kind to have reviewed the album, and some of them embraced it and wrote nice little mentions about it in their publications, like All About Jazz and things like that. So I felt kind of reaffirmed in my desire to share it, and I heard from friends who said, "Oh, this was uplifting, thank you." So that was a big reason why I decided to release it. So moving on to the next. Like I said, I found a couple more songs in the vault from the first album. It escapes me why I did not include it in the first album. I think it was too long, and so I nixed a couple songs, but they sound great. I went back and I mastered them, and so they will come out, like I said, sometime in June. I'm working on a couple of videos to go with that, so you'll definitely hear those. Otherwise, I am figuring out set up for myself to actually present music from my home. The challenge for me is that I am mainly a vocalist, and while I do play piano and guitar, it's not at the performance level where I would be satisfied in presenting myself this way, more than like a one song as a novelty. So I am finding out more about technology that can help me kind of bring my band virtually to the space without simply like singing to the backup track. So working on that now, and have a few things coming up in the next couple weeks where I'll start doing that. So stay tuned, as they say.
Well, let me ask you this. Everyone, we're going to get to the point where live music will happen again. What do you hope both the musician and the crowd realizes from this time away from the music?
It's a great question. I think presentation of live music will be transformed. I think we have to get through this period, alive and healthy, and that's the main thing right now. But I also don't think that we should be naive and think that once, the vaccine is here and the medication is here, that we're going to just go back to how we were before. It's kind of a perfect, non-perfect situation for musicians right now, because we were kind of getting killed by all the free streaming. And now, people didn't really need to leave the house to get their music fix, so to speak, right? And now, in isolation, there's even more free content that's being delivered to individuals, right, in their homes, and thank God for that. That's keeping us sane. But once it's going to be safe to come out to live performances, I know for a fact a lot of musicians are not going to be in business anymore, because it's just going to be tough to survive, and a lot of audience members are going to be cautious about coming out as well. So I'm not really answering your question, because I don't want to kind of have false confidence about knowing what's going to happen. I'm hoping for the best, but I'm ready or preparing for all kinds of ways this may go. We do know that music is healing to us, but I think it's a little bit of a Titanic situation, in that probably bigger names will get through this, and they will be in higher demand. But folks in the lower compartment of the music industry, I don't know how many of us will survive through this in a real way of being able to make, sustainable living from music, like we have all been building towards, I'm sorry if it's not a fully sunny and determinate answer that you've been looking for, but that's how I'm feeling right now.
Cool. Hey, that's a great answer. Thank you for taking some time out today. Stay safe and good luck with everything.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest singers in New York City, Kansas City, and all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Svetlana for her time, music, and stories. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Will you still love me when I'm no longer beautiful?
Neon Jazz.